So next I want to talk about the skill set to networking, and this is mostly face-to-face networking that I'll be talking about. One click. So I believe that most business professionals are basically cave dwellers. They get up in the morning, they're in a large cave with a big screen television. They go out to their garage and they get into this little cave with 4 wheels called their car. They drive to this other really big cave with computers called their office. They stay there all day long. And at the end of the day, they get back into their little cave with 4 wheels. They drive back to their large cave with the big screen television. And they can't figure out why no one is referring them. Networking, one click, is a contact sport. Networking is a contact sport. You have got to get belly to belly with other business professionals if you want to build a powerful personal network. You got to get out there and network. You can't network from home. And many people now work from home, at least in many countries. Do you have a lot of home-based businesses here in India? Okay, so you don't even get into that little cave with 4 wheels and drive to the office. You're at home. Networking is a contact sport. You got to get out and meet people and talk to them in order to get through the VCP process: visibility, credibility, profitability. So I've been saying, don't sell, build relationships. Understand the VCP process. People say, well, why go to networks if I can't sell? Look, if somebody needs your product or your service, they're going to tell you. If you meet somebody and you tell them what you do, and they go, oh man, I've been looking for you, I've been looking for that, they're going to tell you. You can stumble over business. Even a blind squirrel can find a nut. You'll find business. But referral business, that's all about relationships. And that begins by getting out there and being visible. Next slide. So there are at least 4 streams of a network. And what I want to talk about for a couple of minutes are each of those 4 streams and how they can apply to you in building your own powerful personal network. The first is a casual contact network. Casual contact network allows many people from overlapping professions. They get together in a mixer environment. There are often organizations like a chamber of commerce where a lot of people get together and network. Second is a knowledge network. These are networks that are oftentimes like trade organizations to share information, knowledge. I recommend you participate in these kinds of groups. The third is a strong contact network. A strong contact network allows one person per profession. They get together every week. Their primary purpose is to pass each other referrals. This is not a trick question. What kind of groups? A strong contact network. Yeah, BNI is a strong contact network. Online networks, I'm a real believer in online networks. I'm very active on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. I think that they're really important, but I don't think that online networking replaces face-to-face networking. It just really doesn't. And I can tell you a lot of stories as to why I don't think it replaces that. Now, maybe someday, it'll replace it. Like when you can do those, like Star Wars, where they have those holographic images. So there's a holographic image of a Jedi Knight and then a real Jedi, and they're all standing in like a semicircle, right? You remember that? And there's a real Jedi and then 2 holographic images. So maybe someday when we can have a meeting with holographic images and real people, maybe then you don't need it. But if we get to that point, by the way, if we ever get there, I want to be Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm just saying, I want to be the role of Obi-Wan Kenobi. But hey, listen, until we have that kind of technology, it's not going to happen. So what you need to do is pick 2 or 3 of these kinds of networks. Now, online, it's okay to have different, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. But casual contacts network, pick one. Be in that. Knowledge network, pick one. Be in that. Strong contact network, pick one. Diversify so you have different kinds of networks that you're participating in. This is how you fill up 8 to 10 hours a week, by participating in these kinds of groups and getting out there and networking. And you don't have to be in all of them, but be in at least 2 or 3 of them. Next slide. So when you walk into one of these groups for the first time, you're networking. And certainly in BNI, we have open networking. And you look at the room and you go, I don't even know where to start, especially if you're not an extrovert. Extroverts, they start with anybody that's within 5 feet. but an introvert, maybe not so much. So you walk in and you look at that and you don't even know where to start. So I'm going to give you a couple of suggestions on where to start. And most importantly, I want you to train your chapters on this concept. Next slide. So you walk into a room and immediately look around to see, and you'll find that there are closed twos and closed threes. It's almost impossible to strike up a conversation when people are standing like that. In a closed two or a closed three, a closed four would look like a square where everyone's standing, you can't slip in and talk to somebody. Next slide. Here you're talking about open twos and open threes. Now, open twos and open threes where they're standing sort of askew. And so it's very easy to slide in and strike up a conversation with someone in a setting like this. Now, I had a chapter years ago that visitors didn't like the group that much because they felt they were kind of cliquish and it was hard to strike up a conversation. So I said, I want you to do just one thing, one technique. You don't have to do anything else. And I want to see how this works. And we tried this out, where we trained the chapter to always stand in open twos and open threes during the open networking. Never stand in closed twos. And we started doing surveys of these visitors afterwards, and we found that to a visitor, they would say, you know, I can't quite put my finger on it. I don't know exactly what it is. But they were so friendly. It was easy to strike up a conversation with anybody. And the only thing they did was change the way they stood during the open networking. So it's very important. You want to have a really strong, successful chapter. Have your visitor hosts teach this. Have your education coordinator teach this. So, and this is out of a book I wrote called Networking Like a Pro. It's also in the 4th edition of World's Best Known Marketing Secret. Teach people this so when they walk in a room again, next slide, and they look around, they know where to start. You start with the open twos or the open threes or maybe an individual. But to be honest with you, it's almost easier for an introvert to slide into a group of 3 or 4 people than it is to just walk up to one person and strike up a conversation. So in either case, the open twos or open threes, this works so well. I want you to try this at some of your next meetings. I remember I did an all-day event, and I did this presentation, and at the mixer part, or the break in between, I was talking to one BNI member, and we were completely standing in a closed two, he and I. And he had just seen my presentation. And he looked at me and went, we're in a closed two. Like, oh, thanks. So we opened it up. Moments after we opened it up, boom, third person pops in. He and I look at each other and we go, closed three. And we opened it up. It's now, an open three. Moments after we had it as an open three, a 4th person comes in, and then a 5th, and then a 6th, and then at 8 people, I said thanks to everybody and stepped on into the next group. But here's the power of that, is that open stance brings people in to have a conversation. This is such a subtle technique. And a lot of what I teach is, it's pretty simple. It's not difficult to understand. But even though a lot of what I teach is simple, it's not easy to do consistently. It's that complacency that kind of kicks in where we just get accustomed to things and we're not doing the right things over and over and over again. So you do this kind of thing within a chapter. This is a really powerful technique to use in networking. Next slide, please. So what I'm going to talk about next is in a book I wrote called Avoiding the Networking Disconnect, and it's about the follow-up system. How do you follow up with people? How do you follow up? I'm going to teach you a 3-step system. It's called the 24/7/30 system. 24/7/30 follow-up. Okay? Next slide. Within 24 hours, you meet somebody. You're in one of those open networking things. You meet somebody, you have a conversation, you exchange cards. You would like to stay in touch with that. You remember that this guy Misner came in and he said, it's all about relationships, so I can't just sell to him. So I got to reach out and talk to him. So within 24 hours, what I'm telling you to do is reach out to them. Send them an email. Write them a note. Mail it to them. But within 24 hours, reach out and don't sell to them. Do not. Send them an email saying, hey, it was really great meeting you. I'd love to sell you my widget. Or would you be interested? Or can you, sometimes I really think it's like entrepreneurs have Tourette's. They can't hold it in. They just got to do it. They like explode if they don't try to sell. So I'm telling you, don't do that. Reach out to them, and here's what I'd recommend. It was really great meeting you last night at that business mixer. I enjoyed my conversation with you, and I hope our paths cross again soon sometime. That's it. Something simple. Something genuine. Send that to them within 24 hours. Next slide. Within 1 week, within 7 days, connect with them on social media. Connect with them on social media. LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. But here's the deal. Now, this is really important. Don't connect with them where you want to be. Connect with them where they actually are. Not everybody's active on all three. So figure out where they're active and be there. Then you may say, but I don't use it. Yeah, okay, well, then don't follow my advice if you don't want to get referrals. The truth is what counts is not what you want. If you want to build your business through referrals, what counts is what they want. And so you got to go where they are if you want to communicate with them. And I'll tell you, I learned this in the craziest way. Craziest way. It hit me a few years ago. I was with my kids. I learned this from my kids. My oldest, this was a few years ago, but my oldest, forget about a phone call. I mean, I got her a mobile device, but she would never make a phone call. It was only text. It was really just, unless she wanted money, then she'd call me. But otherwise, it was a text. So I learned that if I texted her, I'd get a response. Get a response pretty quickly. Now, my second daughter, forget about phone call, no. I think she shuts the phone part of it off. Phone call, no. Text, no. For her, it's WhatsApp. Now, you guys love WhatsApp in India. It's more popular here than in most countries, I think. I had no idea what WhatsApp was. The only reason I'm on the WhatsApp thing with India is because my daughter is on WhatsApp. Otherwise, I barely know it or understand it. But I get on WhatsApp and I send her a message and she responds. If I text her, she's not going to respond. If I call her, she's not. But if I WhatsApp her, she'll respond. Now, my son, he's the most interesting. He doesn't text. He doesn't call. Forget about email for all of them. He doesn't like WhatsApp, or Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter. That's so old school, they say to me, Dad. But he's a gamer. He loves online games. And there's an online game system called Steam. And you can get online and you can download the games. And what I discovered was they have an instant message feature. So I joined Steam. I downloaded games so that I could get on there, get on a game, and instant message my son to get him to respond. Hey, buddy, your mom wants to talk to you. You should pick up the phone and call her. Okay, Dad. But he wouldn't get back to me any other way. What's really funny is that they're all three in different places. And if I said to them, the only way I'm going to communicate with you is on a phone call, I'd never talk to my kids. So that's not my goal. My goal is to have regular communication. So I go where they are. If you want to build a referral-based business, go where they are. Go where your potential referral partners are. And so I say, try to figure out where they are, go to that social media platform and connect with them. And at some point on there, say, comment on something they post. Hey, that's really great. It's good. We met about a week or so. We met a month ago. Just checking out your Facebook page. Looks great. I love this comment. Whatever. Just so they can remember who you are. Okay, next slide. Within 30 days, and by the way, on the 7-day thing on social media, do not sell to them. Do not sell to them. It's about building relationships. 30 days. Reach out to them. Again, wherever you think they might be, either via online or maybe a phone call. I prefer to do phone calls for this, but whatever you feel comfortable with, reach out to them and set up an appointment. Reach out to them and say, I really enjoyed meeting you last month. Been, seeing what you're up to on LinkedIn or WhatsApp or wherever. And I'd love to get together and learn more about your business to see if there's any kind of professional relationship where we might be able to assist or help one another. I want to learn more about you. And if possible, you can learn more about what I do. And whatever you do, don't sell to them. I know this is counterintuitive. I know that. But I'm here to tell you that if you start selling to them before there's a relationship, they're going to shut you down. I heard Mac talking about, sending out the emails to people from all over the world. BNI Connect is a great platform, but get to know people before you start selling to them. And I say that, by the way, to everyone all around the world. You got to get to know them before they sell to them. Okay, within 30 days, you want to set up an appointment, sit down, and get to know more about them. Now, in BNI, we do the gains exchanges, but you meet somebody, they're not going to know what a gains exchange is, but that's okay. You can still do a gains exchange without actually handing them a form and having them, if you want to hand them the form, that's great, but you don't have to do that. When I've met with people, I'll just sit down with them and say, there's a few things. I think a great way to get to know someone is to ask them a few questions. And so I want to talk about maybe what are some of your goals? What are some of the things that you've done that, maybe your accomplishments that you feel really good about? What are your hobbies and interests? What other networks? I just ask them the gains. But I do it in a very casual way, and I get them to tell me theirs, and then I tell them what mine are. And that's a great process to begin the building of a relationship. So within 30 days, you want to set that up. Next slide. I'm going to be wrapping it up in a few minutes, and then if we have time, I think I've got until 8:15 or something like that. So I'm happy to take a few questions before we're done. Time confidence curve. Whatever business you're in, you have to understand that it takes time before someone has confidence in your ability to provide a quality product or service. Now, most of you have probably seen this if you've gone to MSP training. It's probably in your member success program training, but next slide, please. I don't think this one is in your MSP training. You see, that time confidence curve varies depending on the profession you're in. So a florist might have a pretty short time confidence curve where people feel comfortable in referring a florist fairly quickly. A printer may have a time confidence curve that's further out. A real estate agent has a time confidence curve that's further out. An investment advisor investing your retirement income is at the end of the scale. And so I show you this because you have to understand that your profession is different than other professions as it comes to the time confidence curve. Some professions will take longer to create that credibility than other professions. And so you have to go in with the right mindset on how long it's going to take. A florist might get referrals really quickly, but that real estate agent's going to take longer. But man, you've got to sell a lot of flowers to make up for the sale of one house. So it's not just the quantity of referrals, it's the value of the referrals. So the real estate agent may in fact take a lot longer, but with one sale, it's worth a lot of flowers. So time confidence curve, understand that. This, by the way, is out of the book, Networking Like a Pro. Next slide. So we all have a perception of how good we are at what we do, how good we are as a networker. We have our own perception of that. So part of the gender survey that I did, we asked a question, and there wasn't much of a difference between men and women. It was virtually the same. As a matter of fact, it was statistically the same. Next slide. In this, you'll see that we asked people, are you uncomfortable networking? And we found that about 88% of men and women said never or almost never one click please. And that 5% said always or most of the time. So we asked these people, are you uncomfortable networking? 88% said no, never, almost never. 5% said always or most of the time. And my co-authors and I looked at this data and we said, we've seen people networking. If 88% say they are not uncomfortable networking, they should be uncomfortable networking because they're really bad at it. You know, they're not very good at it. So we were surprised by this number. So what we decided to do is to flip the question. One of the things I learned years ago in doing research work is that the way you ask the question oftentimes determines the kind of answer you got. And we knew reality and we thought this didn't feel right. So we flipped the question. Next slide. And we asked, do you think the average person is uncomfortable networking? Do you think the average person, that is someone else, we're not talking about you're good. We're talking about somebody else. And we found that dropped to 48% said never or almost never. One click, please. 20% said always or most of the time. That's 4 times greater than the other question, which was just a flip of this. So we're talking about how people feel about themselves versus others. Next slide, please. We may not be giving the impression we think that we're giving. When we're out there networking, we're thinking, man, I'm good. I know what I'm doing. They don't know what they're doing, but I'm really good at what I'm doing. And when in fact, you may not be as good as you think. And so what's really is important is to immerse yourself in the content and the material, which India is doing amazingly well. And to practice. Next slide. You have got to practice these techniques that I'm talking about. You gotta take that big step and go out and do it and adjust how you're doing it and work with how you're doing it. And don't worry about whether you're going to make mistakes. You will. It's inevitable. Instead, what you want to do is focus on how you can improve. Listen, we've all made mistakes. How do you think I became pretty good at networking? By making lots and lots and lots of mistakes. One click, please. So I've made some pretty big mistakes. I mean, really big. One was on live television a number of years ago. I was invited to do a media interview on live television. And